Hello, and welcome to episode 208 of Film Night. My name's Richie,
My name's Jack.
My name's Henry.
My name's Joe.
and in today's episode, we're talking about BlackBerry. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Very excited for this review.
Yes, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Has been, yes. Regular listeners and viewers of the podcast will know that we are big Matt Johnson fans, particularly Mr. Withers.
Oh yeah.
Followed his work for a long time, right from the start.
We're just here for the bad guys t-shirt from the Dirties.
Very appropriate.
I'm drinking
like
out
it.
of my Nirvana the band mug.
God. Oh my God. Just to make it ultra clear.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that shirt. I forgot you had that actually. I love that shirt.
That's cool.
Yes. So obviously, and we've reviewed Operation Avalanche, the Dirties. We've been there all the way through. So of course
a lot about Nirvana the band.
Yeah, a lot about Nirvana the band. So of course we were going to review this film as well.
Yeah.
Excited to see what we all made of it.
Me too. I have to say, Woody's looking very smart this evening. He's looking like he's got in for a very classy evening with your turtleneck.
I love a turtleneck
jumper.
It's only because I've got quite a sore throat and been under the weather, so
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
covering myself up.
Getting towards flu season, aren't we? We'll all be coming down with stuff.
I thought maybe
yeah.
you were just dressing in character as Steve Jobs for the
It's
fall of the
it's
BlackBerry.
I could unzip my I can't. I can't.
I like it.
No, it looks all right.
Protect your throat.
Sorry to hear that you're not feeling very well. But yeah, okay. Are we ready to get into the review, boys?
Yeah.
Let's
dive
do
in.
it.
BlackBerry is directed by Matt Johnson, and it stars Jay Baruchel, Glenn Howerton, Matt Johnson, Rich Sommer, and Michael Ironside. The synopsis is: two mismatched entrepreneurs, egghead innovator Mike Lazaridis and cutthroat businessman Jim Balsley, join forces in an endeavor that was to become a worldwide hit in little more than a decade. The story of the meteoric rise and catastrophic demise of the world's first smartphone. What did you three think of BlackBerry?
I loved it.
Oh, good.
I really enjoyed it. Watched it a couple of days back. So it's very fresh in the mind. Although it probably would be fresh in everybody's mind because it had a very, very, very limited cinema release.
As was expected as well.
Blink and you'll miss it. But I'm assuming it will be sort of on streaming sites and what have you. But loved it. Really did. I didn't know really the story of BlackBerry at all. Like you sort of get Apple and that type, and you knew that, but I did know sort of back in the day BlackBerries were the phone. But the interesting sort of turns that they have throughout the history is really quite interesting. So that point of view was intriguing. Definitely kept my attention. And just thought the casting casting was very strong. Performances were great, and it was funny as well.
Very
funny throughout. So yeah, really did enjoy that film.
Yeah, I didn't know much about the story really either. I'd never owned a BlackBerry. I never really had any interest in them.
I think they were aimed.
My dad had one,
obviously,
but
yeah, they weren't aimed at us at that time.
No,
we were all about the Motorola Razors.
Oh yeah.
the Nokias.
Nokia.
Yeah, but yeah, I found the story quite interesting, and absolutely loved the tone of it. It all very much felt like a Matt Johnson film, to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it and enjoyed that aspect of it as well. Yeah, I thought Glenn Howerton and Jay Baruchel were very good, but it's going to sound a bit biased, but for me, all the best parts of the film were whenever Matt Johnson was on, in my opinion.
He was amazing, and just just lifted up, the scenes he was in. I mean, it helps the fact that he had a lot of the comedic elements.
Yeah,
I'd say he had more than the other two.
He was doing very similar sort of shtick to what he normally does. I don't think any of us are under the misapprehension that Doug Freegan was anything like that type of character in real life. There was very much a Matt Johnson type character.
Did anyone
which is what I wanted, so that's all good with me.
Did anyone actually go away and do a bit of research afterwards or anything? Because I'd like to know, how much of it was accurate, because I've read some reviews that were suggesting it was very inaccurate, like wasn't actually what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched.
Which is a shame.
I watched a YouTube video from someone who worked at RIM at the time.
Oh wow!
Are you laughing at the name RIM?
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I shouldn't.
No, it is a funny name.
29. Fucking hell.
Yeah. And he was sort of pointing out a lot of inaccuracies with it. But to be honest, I wasn't really going into the film sort of.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
One-to-one.
Really.
I'm very much of the opinion that if you want a completely accurate story to be told, then you should make a documentary.
Yeah.
Rather than a fictionalized drama. But I know that Matt Johnson, when making this, was much more interested in the relationship between the three main characters than like the BlackBerry or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely lots of inaccuracies with it, but I'm not too bothered about that. I'm obviously going to take all the things that happened with a pinch of salt. But yeah.
And that's not uncommon either. It's not, I think a lot of films based on true stories, biopics, they all, from some degree do play with the truth a bit, and ultimately you're right. I think that's fine, because that's what the medium is all about. It's making sure it's entertaining at the end of the day. Obviously you want it to be informative, which I do think it was, but yeah, as long as you take it with a pinch of salt. And I think everyone going in knows that it is a dramatized version of events. Like you say, if you wanted a really accurate version, then you'd read up about it, or you'd buy the book that it was based on, or I don't know what. But so I didn't really have a problem with that. But I was interested to know, like, whilst watching it in the moment, I was like, oh, did that actually happen? That's crazy, and all this stuff. Like how he tried to buy a hockey team and then move it to Canada and all that.
That did happen.
Oh, that did happen.
that did happen. That was what happened. That was one of they tried to do that, and he did try and mock that guy by inviting him to it, and that was what tipped off the company and screwed up the whole deal.
Okay, that's interesting then.
So that bit was accurate. I think probably I think one of the things that this guy brought up as one of the inaccuracies was more about like how that character was. Like, he's a bit exaggerated. He wasn't like that much of an intense like asshole. He was a bit of a shark, but like not that much, like not that extent. And to be honest, I like obviously he was quite cartoonish. So
yeah, he was incredibly intense. He put in a great performance. And I agree. I think it was a great film. Really enjoyed it. I really thought the pace of it worked really well. I thought it flew by pretty quick, and it had me engaged right from the off. I thought the opening sequence, the kind of montage, with the great soundtrack, instantly just sort of pulls you in. And the script was great. It was funny, but it wasn't a straight comedy. And as you said, it definitely had all those sort of touchstones that Matt Johnson is kind of known for. The kind of almost mockumentary style camera work with the quick pans and the zooms and all that stuff. And that's not for everyone, that kind of filmmaking, but I thought it really worked well for this kind of story. And although there is a lot of biopics out there detailing kind of the rise and fall of whether it's celebrities or companies, I've not seen a biopic used that before. I don't think, unless I'm forgetting any obvious ones.
Used what before? Sorry.
Like use this style of camera work. Like
Oh,
the most of the ones I've seen are far more by the book, kind of dramatized.
I think there are some, but I can't remember what they.
This felt different. Like I've
Big
not.
Short, I'd say Big Short did it.
Big Short, yes, that's a good. Yeah, that's a great example. Yeah,
Definitely.
Big Short.
Good point. Yeah, Big Short did, but it worked well for me. And yeah, I think the performances were really good, really strong. I'm not too familiar with the main character, with the main actors. I know he's in It's Always Sunny, so fans of that show will obviously have known him beforehand. But I'm not aware of Glenn Howerton, and he was brilliant, really intense, good comedic timing with the few sort of more comedic lines that he was given, and yeah, like Joe said, really interesting story. Never owned a BlackBerry, but yeah, I think it kept me engaged all the way through, and you could see that it was a Matt Johnson film, and I'm just looking forward to what he goes on to do. We know that there's a Nirvana the band film coming, which obviously we're super hyped for. Who knows when that will come, but aside from that, just any other projects, it'd be interesting to see kind of what direction he wants to go in. And naturally, he is going to be offered bigger budget stuff, and it's how close to his own creative style he'll be able to stick. I think he seems like the kind of guy that is very much his own. I don't think he'd be easily swayed to kind of do big studio things. I think he's going to keep it more around what he wants to do.
The only sort of thing about that is that I could see him maybe doing that in order to do a bit of a one for you, one for me type situation, just in order to get money to fund his other things. Because I don't think, from what I've seen, I don't think that this necessarily made its budget back.
True. That's true. Yeah, I guess if you want to keep doing your type of stuff, you might have to concede a few things here and there. But yeah,
this is pure speculation on my part. But yeah, what did you think, Woody?
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I've really, really enjoyed it. It's good to see a bit of a evolution in Matt Johnson's style. Not just be straight down the barrel, but just kind of take that approach and just use a bit more of a budget, using different actors, some established names, telling quite a unique and, as we said, sort of untold story. We all know BlackBerrys were around before an iPhone, but I had no idea of the background of the company and how it was formed, and its demise. Because we were around for like the range, weren't they? And all of a sudden they're gone. And right, it might not be accurate representation of all the characters, but did a really good job of being entertaining. This year's been quite a few of these. I mean, true story. Now I wouldn't even call it true story films anymore. It's just like
biopics.
Yeah, but it's not even that. It's just like products and. Like Tetris has had one this year. We've had
there's been a few.
Air about the Night Jordan thing, and so it's a very saturated market. So
crazy how much of a trend it's just become. Like there's been a lot of them over the years, anyway. But yeah, this year there's just been quite a few.
Yeah, so it's nice to see a different take on it in Matt Johnson's way, and I've got to say I actually think Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton were the two best things in it. Their performances were outstanding, very, very different in terms of characters, but the way they pulled them off was great. I'm not a big fan of Always Sunny, but so I do appreciate his acting and stuff. And with Jay Baruchel, obviously he's more of a Seth Rogen stoner type of character. That's all I've ever seen him do. Just be involved in all of them. So for him to do something really, really different, I'm actually quite impressed by him. Quite understated, but he actually did it really, really well.
I agree. Yeah. It was good.
And
Yeah.
it's just great experience. Great to see Matt Johnson film actually on the big screen for the first time.
Yeah, that was great.
Stuck to DVDs and
Mm,
watches on telly over the years. So
yeah.
and I echo what Clarky said. Let's see what he does next, and hopefully this is not the first time he's gonna move into a bit more bigger budget stuff, and we get to see him more
Mm.
on our big screens again.
Yeah, there were slight differences to the style in this one than in the other films, such as no one's really aware of the cameras. It seems no one's really like actually looking at the cameras, even though it's the same kind of like documentary type style. Nobody's acknowledging them, whereas they normally do.
Still kind of made you felt like you were one of the team listening in, though, the way it was done. Deliberately being a bit not polished, if you know, is the handheld style. And I think there was a cool little quirky nod to the fact that Matt Johnson has done like these breaking the fourth wall style stuff where Glenn Houghton's parking his car up and he looks in the rear mirror and just goes straight down the barrel.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
Never
That's
done again.
right. Yeah,
just
that's
like
right.
inside. Oh yeah, like you are here. Yeah, you're part of it.
Yeah,
quite well done.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That was a cool shot.
And the other difference is that, as far as I could tell, it didn't seem like there was any interactions with real people in the real world, which is normally a pretty huge staple of his work. But yeah, none of that in this.
I mean, I suppose this timeline it's the first time he's actually got a real life story, hasn't he? An actual.
No, there was the real life story of how they faked the moon landing.
yeah.
Obviously.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. How could I forget?
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? No, like, even if there's real people in or real characters in Operation Avalanche, with this, I mean, it's set in terms of who was part of the RIM team, and
true,
you know, even if because he put the disclaimer in and he said, yeah, it's based on a true story, but you know what happened isn't true, that kind of thing, which a lot of them tend to do now, don't they? Their disclaimer.
Yeah, it's like true events rather than
exactly.
Based on real events, which basically means some of this happened, but we can do whatever we want with it.
Dramatized.
I thought he did a great job in terms of because obviously, yes, we've mentioned he had a bigger budget to work with, but you know that doesn't guarantee that it's going to look great, and that doesn't guarantee that the production design and the period setting, all those little details. I mean, so many of them I wouldn't have even noticed. All the film references, or the game references, or in that office they were in at the start before they moved to the bigger place. All those little things that were on the desks, all the posters on the walls. I mean, it was all really carefully thought out.
I loved all the nerd culture stuff there. It very much feels love lettery in all that stuff. And yeah, they're playing like Command and Conquer and Doom. And Matt's or Doug's, I should say, his unapologetic obsession with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that stuff was really great. I really loved it. It seems like, again, that's one of the things where it's more not really about the true characters, but that's more him doing that as it seems like it's more his kind of lived experience rather than the people that actually worked there. But yeah, that was great. I watched that with a bunch of nerd friends who were picking out all of those things. So that was a good experience.
I thought the soundtrack was great as well. I mean, so adding on to what you guys have said about sort of the no expense spared in a way of making it feel realistic and take you back to that time. And I think the soundtrack just added to that. And wasn't overly used, because I think some of these films do tend to use a heck of a lot of music.
Oh yeah.
I think
but
Air did that.
this-
That was one of my
yeah.
major criticisms of it, even though I did like it.
Mm.
Far too many needle drops,
Right.
and not
Yeah.
always good. Not always good choices.
Mm.
And it was like desperate to remind you constantly that this is an 80s film. Here's an 80s number one. You know, like every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree totally. Wasn't overused, but when it was used, it was really effective.
Yeah. And the score was great by Jay McCarroll.
Of course, shout out Jay.
It was a really cool score. It was clearly using all sorts of like message tones and stuff within it, which was all really cool. Yeah, it was effective. I enjoyed it. Oh yeah, okay. So I really liked the way that they showed the introduction of the iPhone in this, where they kind of walk into the office and
that was good.
You just see Steve Jobs' presentation. And then when the iPhone's like revealed, it cuts to like a front-on shot of them, and then the light of the thing just sort of lighting them up as though they've like seen God or something. It was a really cool way of showing that. And yeah, I really liked the portrayal of Mike's ego after that. And he's just so his ego is so damaged by the fact that he's not like the clever golden boy anymore. He's not the one that comes up with all the solutions first. And just like pretends as though the iPhone's shit or something.
Yeah, like he will not admit that, perhaps they have come up with a better product. He's just so adamant, and he's really proud of his trackpad that he thinks is going to take over the world, and like
and the click
and the click
of the
yeah,
buns.
the satisfying click.
Yes, yeah. But that was a thing. That was a thing that people liked very much about the Blackberries.
No, it's true, yeah. But yes, to see his transformation through the film, and obviously it's made clear to us just how far his character has moved on. It's by Matt Johnson's character, because he obviously stays very true to his beliefs and stays true to his own characteristics. And at the start, they're very similar, and that's why they're best mates. And then by the end, they're just Matt Johnson's character is completely alienated by Jay Baruchel's character's just complete ignorance of what's right and what's wrong and what they should be doing. And so
yeah, I would I'd like to know what Matt Johnson's character was taking in terms of supplements or vitamins or something, because he did not age a bit in the space of this film, whereas every other character did. And I mean, like, he didn't age one bit. I don't even think he had a change of costume at all.
No.
Like, he literally just wear the same thing, and he looked identical from the beginning and then the end of the film.
He's also carried on wearing the same thing in like every interview I've seen since.
Has he?
Since the film as well?
The headband.
Yeah, the headband. And yeah, it doesn't seem to have changed since.
Yeah, that's true. Actually,
filming.
I wonder why they did that. Because they made a conscious effort to quite drastically change the look of the other two.
I don't remember the other two aging at all. They changed the
silver
hair.
Yeah,
that was the one change.
I think he added like loads of prosthetics to make him look like he's got bags under his eyes and everything.
There wasn't. I did not see any of that.
I think Glenn Howerton's
seen it twice.
I'm sure Glenn Howard did not have wrinkles and stuff.
I mean, Glenn Howerton already has wrinkles because he's, in his 40s. But I didn't notice any changes in that. The only change I noticed was the hair, which I think we should probably bring up as well, because the hair was extremely distracting in this film.
Yes, it was.
It's ridiculous.
It did, yeah. It wasn't the best, was it?
No, both the wigs were very unconvincing. And to be honest, Glenn Howerton's shaved head was also pretty unconvincing. There's something just off about it. It didn't look like a naturally bald head.
Well, I didn't know if it was. Was it shaved?
No, he did actually do that.
He shaved it, yeah. But it looks like he shaved it. It doesn't look like it's like naturally bald, in my opinion.
Good commitment though to the role. Bloody hell!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would have helped if he'd like cut the sides a bit shorter. I think they look a bit too full, and that might be what's messing me up a bit with it.
Maybe. I wasn't sure. I didn't initially. I just thought, oh, it'll be a bald cap.
He's obviously based it on what the guy actually looked like.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Mm.
He's
Oh,
based
like
it on what
the
Jim
fullness
does.
of the sides of his head.
Yeah.
The real guy, yeah, probably.
Maybe I don't know. I'm just saying that it looked a bit, just looks a bit off to me.
No, it was a distraction, particularly Jay Baruchel's.
Yeah.
That was but it's not the end of the world, is it?
But
I'm not
I will
gonna
say
get
that
hung up on it.
his no, it's not something I'll get hung up on at all. But it is a bit distracting, and it's a bit like bit strange that you didn't get that sorted out. But I will say that the actual guy's hair, Mike Lazaridis's hair, does look a bit silly as well.
Oh, does it? Is it a
Yeah.
bit wild like his was?
Yeah, it's very white like that, like in the end
Okay.
of the film, and up like that. It does look more natural, but
Yeah, because I was wondering
it
why.
looks like the hair follicles are connected to his head, but
Because I was wondering why not just dye Jay Baruchel's hair, or I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
if-
It seems I don't know. Maybe it was something
Like
that
if
they
Glenn
felt
Howerton's
was
gonna do that to his own hair, surely he can just dye it grey or whatever. I don't know.
But
Don't
they
want to
also
get too hung
didn't.
up on this.
It didn't. But it's also not like they really cared much about making Matt Johnson look like Doug Freegan either. He looks nothing like him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some kind of weird inconsistencies there with what they wanted to look more realistic and what they didn't.
I assume those things, at the end of true story films, when you get the photos of the real people and you get the little lines telling you what they went on to do and stuff.
Yeah.
I assume those were true, like how it said that Doug's character sold his shares at the peak of the company, and he's now secretly one of the richest men in the world. Like, because that's crazy. I did not know that. One of the richest.
Yeah, well, I mean,
men in the
I didn't
world.
even know who Doug Freegan was, but yeah.
So that was interesting. How he
yeah, I
actually
mean, I assume that's true.
managed
It'd be very
to get out
weird
of it.
to have those sentences and have them not be true.
Yeah, no, it must be true. But that's.
I mean, it's not very secret anymore, is it? They've let the cat out of the bag on that one, haven't they?
Yeah, but yeah, it's kind of. I'm kind of glad someone at BlackBerry got out of it, successfully, because it was a huge product at the time, and it would be a shame. I know Apple come along and like does everything better, and there's no real need for BlackBerry anymore. But I'm glad that.
I mean, I don't know how badly the rest of them like really came out of it. I think they're probably doing fine.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. As there's this kind of speculation, but that's true. Yeah.
I wonder what his settlement was. I wonder if he's still.
Yeah, he did well to escape jail.
But like, I imagine they've still probably got a lot of money from it.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but what do you think? How does it stack up against other MJ films?
I was thinking this. It's number one for me is the Dirties.
Does that include Nirvana the band?
No, I was thinking more films.
Okay.
But actually, if you want to include that, I would still put the Dirties ahead.
Okay.
And then the question for me is, which is better, this or Operation Avalanche? And I'm actually leaning towards Operation Avalanche. I mean, I could do with a rewatch. It was a while ago, but yeah, it's a close call. They're both really good. But for me, the Dirties is still clearly his. I mean, I've rewatched. I must have seen that 5 or 6 times. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
So I would definitely put that as his number one. So, what do you reckon?
Probably pretty similar, to be honest. Although I would have Nirvana the band. The show is my favorite thing that he's done.
Yeah. And let's not forget Anne at 13,000 feet. Does that count as one of his?
Well, he didn't make that. He
didn't make it. No, true.
But it's a great film. I really love that film. I'm going to leave it out of this ranking for now. But yeah, similar for me. Dirties would be the best of the films, and then pretty close, but probably Operation Avalanche on reflection. Probably the better one. What do you think, Wood?
Yeah, I'm the same. Unfortunately, it's Jack. Dirties number one, then Operation Avalanche, and then this.
Yeah, fair enough. Pepster?
Has Pepster seen the Dirties?
I have seen the Dirties, yeah. And I would go with that as better than this. But I've not seen Operation Avalanche, so I would have to go with this is my second, I think. But I do want to see Operation Avalanche. I'm just gonna log it on Letterboxd on the watch list. Not that I ever get through the watch list.
Definitely add it though.
Okay, favorite scenes then, boys. What do you reckon?
I might go with the kind of breakdown rant. I know he has a few rants, but like the mother of all the rants right towards the end when he's in the boardroom of the NHL, and he's realized that every single owner has vetoed his bid to become the owner of that team, and he just can't believe it. And he just the way he reacts, it's great acting. And there's that line of "I'm from Waterloo, where the vampires live" or something
like that. Yeah,
just a completely OTT line, and I love a good breakdown. I love it when we see a rant. When it's done well, it's really good. And he was great in the whole film, but that was the crescendo for me.
He's very famous for doing lots of big rants on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah, he's very good at it. He's very good at it.
Yes, he is very good at it, yeah.
So yeah, I'll go with that.
Okay. I'll go with, for me, I really like the scene where it all kind of comes to blows between Doug and Mike. So I guess it's like the last scene that Doug is in, where he's like asking Mike, like, why do you think everyone that works here spends like full nights and like is okay with like not seeing their families and stuff? Just the absolute delusional answer from Mike at that point.
Yeah.
It was a moment of kind of genuine feels for me, so I really liked how that was pulled off. I like that moment, so I'll go with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think I would go with the moment when he comes in and he's bought the share of the company back in the day. And he literally walks in and realizes, I'm sure he realizes in the back of his mind, what the hell have I got myself into? Like, literally got an office full of lads just playing games, and he gets the desk all set up, and he's like, what, this is my office, this like box room. And I think just that whole sequence, and then up to the point where he goes to the bank and then comes back, and that whole little segment, I think was great, really. Very funny.
Okay,
very
cool.
funny part.
Yeah. Wood?
Yeah, I did like that one, but I mean, I'd probably go for the unveiling of the iPhone. I think it's talked about earlier, but the way that was kind of reflected on the character's faces, but just everyone's staring up at this bright, shiny new thing that doesn't have a keyboard or a clicker. It's just this like godlike figure that just it's going to blow them out of water, and it's sort of the beginning of the end, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
So yeah, I go for that scene.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Must have been crazy in the tech industry at that time, like like seeing that for the first time and kind of it all dawning on you as a competitor to Apple, like, oh shit, like how the hell are we such a watershed moment, isn't it?
If you think as well, like people growing up, I mean, I know we're at that age where we've been around technology pretty much all of our lives. Yeah, we didn't have iPhones when we were born, and we've gone through that period of laptops and all that time and mobiles. But you think like parents' generation and older, like literally going through that technological change of having mobile phones that were ginormous, and then literally the moment the iPhone came out, it probably was for a lot of people like, wow, you know, what is this? It probably didn't affect us as much, and we were younger then anyway. But yeah, that back in the day, it must have
Oh yeah, huge moment.
massive change.
Yeah. Well, it was. Yeah, still using them today. Some
So
of
it
us.
stood the test
Some
of
of
time,
us.
didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What are we going to give BlackBerry out of 10?
Give it an 8.
Nice.
Mm.
Strong. I think I'm going to
Yeah.
join you on that. Would
Yeah.
go with an 8 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I can push it to an 8.5. That seems a bit slightly too high. So yeah, I will join you boys.
Okay.
4 8s then, I think.
4 8s.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Let's move on from that then. We have a bit of a game to play related to this film. Did we decide on a name?
Let's go with roast your review.
Roast your review. Okay. So it's pretty much in the title there. We're going to be going through letterboxed reviews for BlackBerry and giving our opinions on
some of the howlers.
Yes, and maybe taking a look at a few of their favorite films as well.
Yes. Yeah, I think this will be quite fun. I mean, then we'll try and do it whenever we do this. We'll try and do it. So obviously you've got some clangers and sort of funny ones, but then it'd be nice to also maybe bring in some points of view that actually make us, they might actually be a good point that we haven't considered,
They could change our minds altogether and make the entire review useless.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We'll have to redo it.
Go back and do it again.
Maybe they'll make us change our ratings. Who knows?
Possibly. But yeah, so I've got a few here. We don't have to go through them all, but I'll give you the name of the person whose it is, and then I'll read it out. So this first one is a 0.5-star review from Loaf of Bread 13. And they say, there is a lot I can say about this movie and the overall trend of bullshit stories about the biography of different brands. However, I was at no point able to get past Glenn Howerton's fucking head. He shaved his head to look bald, and it's the worst. It's a perfect metaphor for this movie, trying really hard only to produce something that's still ugly.
Okay.
So picking up on your point there of the...
It is a bit, maybe going a bit far on it.
Oh, definitely going a bit far.
I think that the head, like I say, the head didn't look quite right to me. But I should probably have added on to that I knew that it was shaved beforehand. So I don't know if that's just sort of in my mind, sort of making me think, oh, I already know that's shaved. So you know what I mean? Like if you know something, it might have affected how you see it. So that's definitely possible. Clearly, other people have experienced a similar feeling, but yeah, I think
they pick up about, we mentioned there's been a few of these types of films recently, and clearly Loaf of Bread 13 is not a fan, calling it a trend of bullshit stories.
Yes.
So it's not for everyone.
So they have actually picked up on a couple of things that we've sort of brought up already, and they just seem to have really zoned in on those for being why they hate the film.
Although I will call them out to say, I was at no point able to get past Glenn Howerton's head. I mean, is it really that much of a distraction that you can't? I'm going to go out
on a limb here and say that they're being a little bit insincere with that review, and I think there's probably other elements to the film that they maybe didn't like.
Yeah,
I'd find it quite hard to believe that a bit of an odd-looking head is the entire reason for disliking the film. So insincere, that's how I'd label that one.
Yeah,
not good. Not a good review. What are their favorite films?
Well, a couple of belters. In Bruges.
Good film.
Inglourious Basterds.
Great film.
And then a couple I've not seen. On the Road with Judas. No idea what that is.
No.
And The Birdcage. which I think you have seen, Richie.
I have seen that. Yeah, it's a good film. It's funny.
So clearly,
I wouldn't put it up as one of my favorites, but odd. I don't think anyone in any of those films has a shaved head, so
yeah,
that might be that might be all it is.
Yeah, this person may have an issue with bald people. I don't know.
That might be it. Yeah, I think that's it.
Right, I've got another one here from Robert2339 who says, this movie is as irrelevant as the BlackBerry itself.
Ooh.
Got him.
Short and sweet.
Yeah. Does anyone like expand on what they mean by these little quips? What they mean?
I mean, I wouldn't call the BlackBerry irrelevant. I know it is today, but
well, yeah, it's irrelevant today. But why?
It's relevant today, buddy.
Had a huge part to play in the history of mobile devices.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what he means by the film being irrelevant.
No, me neither.
As in, just like we don't need to know this story because it's.
We don't need to think too deeply about some of these.
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of these are just being inauthentic.
Yeah. Got another one here from Kate, who just says, I don't know why I watched this. I never had a BlackBerry. So not really.
Yeah.
She only seems to want to watch films that she has some sort of direct involvement in.
So far, I'd say I'm struggling to engage with the way these people are thinking. But then there's been plenty of times when I've just written little stupid quips on reviews that I'm just writing to try and be a bit funny rather than giving an actual opinion. So it's hard to really say something about that.
What do we think of this comment? This is specifically about Matt Johnson. This is from Colin, who says, I can't help but think the director would have been more focused and made a more cohesive movie if he hadn't inserted himself into a main role. The scenes that his character isn't in are noticeably better directed. So you could have a point there. I mean, I don't particularly agree with him, but the idea that obviously, more generally, maybe if a director is in the film, is it perhaps taking away some of their, focus away from the direction, and then therefore that part of the film might, I don't know.
It's not something I've ever noticed.
No.
And it's not something I noticed in this.
I couldn't really know. I couldn't really be able to put. I don't think you'd be able to put two scenes, one with him in and one without him in. I mean, maybe you could side by side, and then sort of like distinguish that the one that he wasn't in was better than the one that he was in because he didn't spend enough time directing it. I think it was pretty consistent throughout the film. I don't think there was any really poor parts to the film. It was pretty consistent, really.
The thing is, his character brings a pretty dominant presence to whatever scene he's in. So any scene that he's not in is always going to be very different in tone because he kind of brings a completely different tone, I think, to each scene. Yeah. I don't know if anyone else agrees with that, but that's what I would say about that. But what's interesting to note is that originally Matt Johnson didn't want to be in the film. He didn't want to play this character. It was Jay Baruchel that convinced him, that said, I'll only do it if you do it as well.
Okay. So, didn't know that.
Yeah.
And perhaps this individual Colin.
So blame Jay Baruchel on that one.
Didn't know that either, yeah. Couple of little brief ones here. Devon says, moral of the story, you don't fuck with movie night.
Agreed.
I think that's a great point, to be fair, from Devon there.
Yeah, the movie night stuff was great. I was very disappointed when Charles Purdy put a stop to it. Very upsetting.
Yeah. Yeah, you just don't do that. That's a big no-no, isn't it?
I mean, I agree, boys, to an extent, but I think even if movie night still stayed there, he was adamant on his little trackpad, little sort of device thing. He wasn't seeing sort of the future as being sort of like no keyboards and just a screen. And the iPhone would have still rocked up, and they'd have still been in the same situation, I reckon.
Yeah, I think so. And this is a good one, especially for fans of Nirvana the band. This is from Charlie, who says, and by the way, gave it 5 stars.
Okay.
He says, Matt Johnson helped make the world's first smartphone and still can't get a show at the Rivoli.
Very good. Very good. Good stuff there. What was his name?
That was Charlie.
Charlie. A fellow intellectual. Good job.
Yeah, I like that one. And then to finish off, do you want one more clanger?
Yeah, go on then.
Bit of a depressing one, but I'll read it. From Casey, who says, movies are over. They're not making any more after this. There's just too many and they're all terrible. Goodbye, movies. Goodbye.
I think we need some more sincere ones. I think that the problem we're having here is everyone's being just very exaggerated.
Yeah, but it's because they want those likes on their reviews. They want the short and sweet. They want the short and sweet reviews.
So that was a very angry response.
Is that the most recent film that Casey's watched, Jack?
I don't know. I'd have to. That's just.
Or has she watched another one since? And if she's watched another one since, then her comment just doesn't stand, does it?
Yeah, true. Yeah, true. And actually, that comment was made on the 7th of June, so I presume she's watched something since then.
Flipping heck, how she watched that on the 7th?
Well, it might have come out earlier.
It came out in different times in different places.
Oh, so she's definitely watched something else since. If she's not, we need to get her on podcast and sort of we need to speak to her. Flipping heck.
Yeah. Yeah, fair point there, Richie. Maybe next time we do this segment, I'll try and find some more sincere ones, but those were the ones that stood out.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, good. Yeah, I don't have much to say to that type of person, I suppose. These are over.
Yeah,
good thing to end the show on, I suppose.
Yeah, that positive note
there. Okay, is that all you got for us on that then?
I have got a couple of others, but I don't know if you want to keep going.
Have we got any? Have we got anyone that's just very angry and has a lot of points to make about it?
To be honest, I only picked out shorter ones because I didn't want to really particularly read massive essays, you know. Okay, here's a slightly longer one that is a bit more sincere. Okay, so Timothy Cadot says, I feel exactly the same way I did after watching Ben Affleck's Air. It's a good movie which tells an interesting and important story, but it really doesn't go beyond that. It doesn't capture the same energy as The Social Network or The Big Short. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, easy, and informative, but it felt more like a documentary reenactment rather than a story. Give the characters more edge, more personality. I thought they were doing that at first with the hockey until it became a plot point. So
that's kind of crazy to me. To think that it's more of a documentary reenactment than there's a story. To not see the kind of character arcs between the three characters, I find mental.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a fair point to say that it doesn't have the same energy as something like The Social Network, but that's...
Yeah, but The Social Network is at the highest bar.
Yeah, to compare that is... I can see why you'd make the comparison, because obviously, you know, it's very similar rise and fall story. But it seems a little bit of a stretch to kind of... I don't know. I think it's definitely sincere.
It doesn't have the same like energy as The Big Short or the social network. That's definitely true. It's going for a bit more of a lower level feel, I think. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'd agree.
So
I'd definitely agree.
Yeah, if that's a problem for him, then I can see that, I suppose.
And he must have some sense, because one of his favourites is Parasite, and we all loved that, didn't we?
Yeah.
So he's got some brain cells. No, but I think at least see now whether you don't like it or you like it, that's fine. Like no one's you can't please everyone, But at least that guy made an interesting point.
Yeah, you didn't
Mhm.
quite change my mind.
Didn't
Which is
change
a
my
shame.
mind,
I was hoping to have
No.
my entire world turned upside down.
mate. That would be impossible. Your love of Matt Johnson is far too strong to
That
have
is
your
true.
opinion changed.
That is very true.
But yeah,
Yep.
Well, then I think we've reached the end of the episode. Unless anybody has any other topics of discussion. Yeah. So please like and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and all the rest of it. And thank you for watching and listening. And yeah. Unless anybody's got anything else they'd like to say, then I guess I'll say it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
and it's goodbye from me.